First of all, the state has to do actually two things: direction and volume, demand volume and demand direction. Somehow, in order to grow, you need to have volume of demand. Now, that volume of demand can be within the country or it can be abroad. Now, it's very important for the citizens of a country that they become the demand. That in mass production was very obvious. Every country wanted to raise the salaries with productivity so that demand would grow with it. Now we have, in the world, we have a lot of growth, and therefore many companies are looking at markets abroad rather than local markets. So one of the things that the government has to do in every country is to try to make sure that its citizens become part of the important demand for its business and for foreign business too, that there is enough. So it has to do with income distribution. It also has to do with state procurement. So the idea that demand is guaranteed in certain directions in terms of who will buy is very important, and it's a role of the state, and it has to do with how it uses its budget and how it taxes and who it taxes and how. On the other hand, this question of direction, of course, if you say, for instance, that you are going to promote the green direction, then what you do partly could be that the state becomes a procurement agent, but it could also be that you create certain regulations that you might, for instance, instead of taxing labor, you might tax energy and materials. Why not? I mean, why did you tax labor? If you want more employment, tax labor less and tax energy and materials use. For instance, just to give you an example, it's not easy. I'm not saying, I'm just giving you an exaggerated example of something that wouldn't cost the state any money, but it would do that. Of course, it could also educate. There have been a lot of examples of education of consumers. I think the way that the ozone layer things got, you put regulation and you educate people into the dangers of a hole in the ozone layer, and gradually you get rid of that. Smoking. You educate people into how bad smoking is for them. We should perhaps start educating people on how bad CO2 emissions are and how, but especially the scarcity of raw materials. If we keep on using them at this rate, first of all, it will be impossible to have millions of Chinese being incorporated into the American way of life, millions of Indians, millions of Brazilians, millions of Africans, millions of everybody. It's impossible. The only way we can do it is by increasing the productivity of natural resources, which means three main things. One is use less materials per unit of product, which might mean doing special materials which require less for everything. The second is, of course, waste. Manage waste so that you can get materials back all the time and water back and all the rest. And the third, perhaps the most important, durability. The whole invention of planned obsolescence, the whole invention of have the same person buy the same product 5 times in their lifetime, rather than have a product that lasts so long that you can have a refrigerator last 30 or 40 or 50 years. Why not? It can very well do so with new technology, with current technologies and with nanotechnology surfaces and all the rest. You can have a very durable product, which will be bought by the rich when it comes out super new, super with features and so on. And then it can be handed down, even become rental, second hand, third hand, fifth hand, 10th hand, nth hand, 25th hand. And then somebody somewhere in a little African country can be buying a refrigerator for €5. And it works. And, they'll just pay for the moving around and for the setting it up or whatever. So the whole thing, you would have a product lasting a long, long, long time. So, but you're still innovating, and you're still introducing it at the top of the income scale, and you're still moving it down. So everybody will be having those physical products that are now so expensive in terms of material and energy and so on. Each time they will consume less energy, or you can have additions and upgradings and all. It's a completely different way of thinking. Even the rental of physical things is another possibility, which makes it, like in Amazon, you buy used books. It's so easy. You just say This is very much scratch. This one has nothing, looks like new, and you decide how much you want to pay, and you know. So it could be like that for almost every physical thing. But you have to have a change in the patterns of consumption so that you have less tangible products and more services, creativity, health, enjoyment, meeting with friends, dancing, whatever, other things, activities. You know, the whole mass production culture where you were a couch potato watching TV every night, and where you have people that are obese because they don't do any exercise. There are countries now where it's obvious everybody goes around in bicycles doing exercises. When you think, what was the leisure activity during mass production times in the 50s, 60s, and even to the 70s, and some places, and for some people even today? Going shopping at the mall. That was leisure, instead of walking up a mountain or doing something. But for that you need to create a culture, and that culture is not created just by government. It's also created by the rich, by the really well off. They set up the aspirational luxury life. What's the good life? Then they're followed gradually. And then it goes all the way down, and people start wanting to have this way of living, which is going to be the good life. So you have to change it, and that involves a lot of people, not just government. So of course, many things: taxes, regulation, education, consensus building, etc. Many, many things to be done. But especially thinking of specializing the country, thinking of what is going to be the direction in this country as distinct from the other one. Many countries are now saying, what are our specialty? Biotech, nanotech, new materials. It's the same one no matter which country, from China to Costa Rica. Everybody wants to do the same new technologies. That's all they think of. Whereas we need to think in directions. We need to think in whole areas. Say somebody might specialize in old age, somebody in health in general, or some types of health. Maybe some people extreme sports, some other people might specialize in areas of green technology, or generally say our direction of innovation will just be green. Environmentally, sustainability will be. So every single industry goes in that direction. What does that mean? That you get synergies, you get convergence, so it's easier for everybody.